yet. Today I would like to continue to telling you about my travelings in Russia, and this time I would like to tell you about our night walk in Saint Petersburg, which we had this summer. First of all, I'd like to tell that this time I'll try to speak much slower because my English teacher, we had a talk about this, I said that I hear lots of mistakes in my speech when I like re-listen it, so I can speak fast actually, and I feel quite free while speaking. Of course I can forget some words, but still. But when I listen to my speech or rewatch the video, I hear lots of grammar mistakes, and I just don't notice them while speaking because I just in the process of expressing my thoughts, and I don't have this skill which is automized in my fluent language, for example in Russian, that I just speak everything correct, but with English it's not like that. I'm okay with simple times like present simple, past simple, future simple, or present continuous, but if it's something more difficult I can use them incorrect, or I can forget to use them. Technically I understand all the rules of these different times, but when I need to use them in live speech, I can make mistakes just because my skill is not developed so well, and I asked my teacher what to do with it because I don't like it, and she actually said that I need to speak slower and monitor my speech, so to have time to build the sentence in a correct way. So that's the only way, she said, and I thought that maybe that would be good for even for ASMR videos, because yeah, they maybe can be better, more ASMR and all that stuff. So at this time I'll try to speak slower, but it's very difficult for me because it's not typical for me, but I'll try to do my best, and for my grammar skills and for ASMR video quality I hope that I'll be okay with that. Also today I'm using a different micro. I don't know if you can see it or not, this one, because the previous one, they like let me down the last time a little bit, but maybe now I think that maybe the thing was not in the micro but in the editing program, I don't know, but there were some sound problems. I tried to solve them, but as I understood, they left some problems left in the previous video, so I am very sorry for that. I hope that this time it's all gonna be better. So let's begin. If you haven't seen previous video about Kaliningrad, I'll give you the link below this video and the video description. And today I'd like to tell you about Saint Petersburg, which is the ex-capital of Russia. It used to be a capital for like a bit more than 200 years, so since the beginning of the 18th century until the beginning of the 20th century, before the revolution and when Soviet Union started existing. Why Saint Petersburg became a capital, and first of all let me show you where it is located. It is also called the North capital because you can see that it's located in the north, not really far from Finland, from Estonia. Yeah, not really far. So yeah, here, and it's like a port city. It's quite big. It's the second biggest city in Russia. About 6 million people are living there, and yeah, it also is known as a cultural capital because there are plenty of theaters, museums, and some cultural events, festivals, and yeah, all that stuff, libraries, universities, but also in Moscow actually there are many of them too, but it's just this city has got the reputation of cultural capital. So yeah, some concerts, many famous writers were born and worked in Saint Petersburg. Also musicians, some music, how to say it, some music waves. They started or took a big part in Saint Petersburg. So yeah, something like this. And we had a walk this summer in the period which is called White Nights, and this is like a brand of Saint Petersburg because it's a part of a polar day, because it's located in the north, and it's a very interesting thing to walk in the city center during this polar day. So almost all the night it's like a cloudy day or twilight, so it's actually light and you feel like in the daytime but it's night. And this combination is very interesting also because of the architecture of Saint Petersburg, because it is this city is like tend to be the most European city of Russia. It's named like that, despite it, Kaliningrad actually should be the most European city of Russia, but because of the architecture and because of its history, Saint Petersburg is named like that, because actually it was built as the most European city of Russia, and it was named the window to Europe because the city was founded by Russian Emperor Peter the Great, and that's why it's actually called Saint Petersburg. I found that's very, how we say it in Russia, a minute of modesty when you like name the city after some saint, but actually this saint has got the same name with you, and that's why it's Saint Petersburg, and you are actually Peter the Great. So he found this city. He was from Moscow, but he got an education in Holland, and he loved Europe very much. He loved European culture very much, and he wanted to have such kind of city in Russia to make Russia more European, a European country, because before Russia wasn't. I think the cultural gap with Russia and Europe was about 200 years, as I remember from my study in university, what we studied. If something happened, cultural happened in Europe, took part in Europe, in Russia, it became trendy only in 200 years. So Peter the Great wanted to make it like equal, wanted to make at least European part of Russia European, in a mental way, if we can say like this. And on the one hand, he developed very well the architecture, the education, some different stuff, but on the other hand, he destroyed many, how to say it, authentic things, many just actually Russian things in some closure, in lifestyle or something like that, because he wanted to make it European so much that he just forbade doing something. And he, for example, make the laws of different type of lifestyle, of architecture building, shipbuilding, and these rules were not suitable, for example, for our Nordic climate, because it was okay for Holland, but not for north of the Russia. And of course, there were some problems with that. But in general, that's how the city appeared. He built this city in the new place where was actually nothing, and he wanted to make such kind of architecture and to make it really cultural place. So for 200 years it was the capital, because he made the capital in this city. But then when it was a revolution, people wanted, the revolutionaries, they wanted to bring capital back to the Moscow, because they wanted to make Russia like Russian again, without this European trends and influences. And St. Petersburg was too European, and it was renamed also, as many Russian cities, in during the Soviet period, it was named Leningrad, which means actually the city of Lenin, and it happened with many of Russian cities. But then, after the end of the Soviet Union, it brought back his old name, was given back to this city, so it became Saint Petersburg again. And talking about my impressions, I can say that if you really wish to visit this city, I recommend you to do it in the second half of June, because it's the period, if you, of course, you are going to have these night walks, but I think that this is the only really unique thing for this city, because I don't know, are there any European big cities where it's a trend to have these night walks during the polar day in the city center? I don't know if someone from Finland or other Nordic countries, if you're watching me, please tell me. I just never heard about this. But for St. Petersburg, it's just it's trend to walk like that. And we had this night walk. Actually, I love it, but of course, the older I get, the more difficult it feels for me not to sleep during the night. But I don't know, like once in the year or once in the 2 years, I can afford it. My body can afford it without feeling really bad after that. But actually, that's why I love live in the north, and I love, for example, this polar day, because like a couple of years ago I had this feeling when we just walked around like our home, but it was in the night, and it was like a cloudy day or twilight. It didn't feel like night at all. And then we went to sleep, and when we woke up, actually it was the same. It was a daytime, and the sky was the same color, had the same color, and it was the same light, and you couldn't feel the difference. And for some people that's something that driving them crazy, but for me that's, I don't know, I like it. The most important thing just to have blackout curtains to sleep normally, but actually people living in the south, they have absolutely the same blackout curtains because of the straight sun, as far as I know. So that's the thing. But I like that the summers are not hot and that they are so light. So this year we had this night walk, and it was nice again. I don't like, for example, its city center, St. Petersburg's city center, because it's overcrowded and there is no greenery, but a huge lack of greenery, almost no greenery, and that's really crazy for me. The air quality is quite poor because there are lots of cars, no greenery, and the architecture, the streets are not really wide, and they are like, for me it feels like tunnels, and maybe this air just can't get fresher because of this, I don't know. Also lots of people, but that's not a problem if you don't walk just with the touristic routes. You can like go to the next street and it will be absolutely empty. But firstly, yeah, when we have a walk in touristic places, because of course we also sometimes we want to see the touristic places, despite I told you that I prefer to walk in some places where people just live, but still sometimes you want to see, you want to feel the atmosphere. But there were lots of people and music everywhere, and I even got a headache. But later luckily it became much better. So yeah, we wanted to catch this atmosphere, but then we just went to not so touristic parts of the city, and it was much better. And by the way, I also need to say that if you come in the high season, of course maybe the prices will be higher, and yeah, there maybe will be more people, but I would really recommend to come this period, because this time still the coolest, as I think I found it the most coolest, at least maybe the whole June, maybe not just the second half, but the whole June. maybe the very beginning of July and maybe the very end of May, but the lightest nights are in the second half of the June. So better to come this period of time. If you come different time, of course, you also can have these nice walks. You can visit museums, theaters. If you love ballet or opera, that's also nice. But I just love walking on the streets, see everything, and yeah, that's it. So later we just chose not touristic routes. It was the city center still, but just usual streets, and it was much more pleasant. Just very quiet. They were very empty. But I felt very safe again. That's what I really like in Russia, that you actually feel safe, no matter daytime, nighttime. Of course, yeah, I wouldn't feel so safe if I were alone, absolutely alone, but still, I believe that 90% everything would be okay with me. Maybe if I just wasn't unlucky to meet some crazy person, but it can happen everywhere. But generally, I feel quite safe, and I felt quite safe in St. Petersburg this summer during this night walk. So what I didn't like also, the lack of toilets, because if you want to the toilet, that's your own problems. There are some toilets, but not so much, and you need to find them, and usually they are also in touristic places. If you are not in touristic place, again, that's your own problems. Yeah, just do something with it by yourself. I finally found some toilet. It still was, yeah, we still were in this touristic zone. That's why it was like the border of touristic and usual zone in the city center. And it was actually even free, but still, I waited maybe an hour before we found this toilet. We were not like looking for it, but we were walking and I haven't seen it anyway, and finally we found it. Also, there was one more, but it was the only one in the big part of this tourist district, and there was such a huge line that it was crazy to stand there. So yeah, that's what I didn't like. What I loved is, yeah, this combination of really beautiful architecture and this polar day that's really magnificent, and that's what I like in this city. I think this is the only thing which I like and which makes this city unique for me. So it was really cool. And what I like in St. Petersburg else, that each district has each style. For example, one district is built in style of like 18th century, another district in the style of modern or Art Nouveau, or another district is built in the style of we call it Stalin Empire. So the buildings, yeah, they were built in period of Joseph Stalin, and they are also like cool, but they built as classical architecture, but with the influence of Soviet Union and Stalin's like ruling period. And in Moscow, for example, it's very like a mishmash. Everything is mixed together, and very different houses can be nearby. In St. Petersburg too, but not so much. It's a rare thing, and for Moscow it's typical, and I don't really like it. I like that everything is kept in one style, and this is really cool. So I hope that you loved the photos, and I hope that I could give you my impression. I could show you my impression of this night walk, of this city. Of course, it's just a city center. St. Petersburg is a huge city with many districts, but this is the city center, which is also quite big. I think it could be like some other not really big city or town, just the city center. So even if you spend time just there, you can find lots of interesting for you. And if you visit in other districts, also there are many interesting of them too. So, but that's what I wanted to say, to tell, and to show. I hope that it was interesting for you. So, thank you for watching, and пока-пока.